Hey, what's up guys? It's Jack and welcome back to another video. So before I get to the nitty gritty on this one, I just want to say, play the Halo Infinite campaign if you have Game Pass, or if you just are on the fence on whether or not to get the game or not. I mean, granted, it is like, what, 60 or 70 bucks. And if you want to be a completionist, you'll probably take about 25 hours, give or take, in order to complete it. But at the end of the day, it's still a hell of a lot of fun. And yes, it is by far the best Halo campaign to come out in years, and it's arguably the best ever. Now, I'm not going to get into that. All I'm going to say is it's a hell of a lot of fun. When I played it for the first time the other day, I played it for 9 hours straight. I'm not going to lie. But it's a hell of a lot of fun. But you guys know me. I'm a multiplayer guy. I always gravitate back to the multiplayer, and I'm still looking forward to the update that's going to be coming out, hopefully, I believe, next week before 343 goes on their break. So I'm very much looking forward to that because I just want to play some free-for-all, to be honest. And obviously some SWAT wouldn't be too bad either. But overall, free-for-all is the biggest thing I'm looking forward to. And then obviously early next year when they have Team Slayer or Social Slayer, that will be a huge thing as well. Hopefully they'll take a couple of the big maps out of the rotation because some of these maps for 4v4 are just a little too big. But anyway, let's get into the nitty-gritty. So now the title does not deceive. It is a change is definitely coming on this channel, but here's a couple things that I wanted to discuss in this video. Number one, I don't have a clear-cut vision of what that change wants to be. And number two, all I know is that I really haven't been making the kind of content that I've been making. Just doesn't really do it for me anymore. It's not as fun anymore, and to be tied down to like one game or two games or just a certain game genre just isn't for me anymore. And commentating about the good and the bad about a specific type of video game and every single update, the news that goes on behind the scenes with Activision or Sony PlayStation and stuff like that, I don't know, it just doesn't do it for me. And for some reason, because of, well, not for some reason, but because of the fact that most of the news when it comes to the games lately are just very negative with everything that's going on or whatnot, it just kind of gives a negative vibe. And on top of that, which obviously affects the videos in terms of their fun factor, because at the end of the day, one of the things that you got to understand is it's got to be fun, right? It's got to be fun. If you're not enjoying it, then why are you doing it? Why are you forcing it, right? So it just feels like it's been really forced lately. I mean, granted, I've been keeping up at a certain pace, but when you're just not enjoying it that much anymore and you're forcing it, it's like, Plus Call of Duty as a franchise. Now Halo, again, it is popular. Now, depending on whether 343, in terms of what they do, that's going to depend on how popular the game remains. It may surge in population or it might die, I don't know. But all I know is this: like, if I were to do this style of video, if I were to continue doing these style of videos, I wouldn't want to do it to where the gameplay has to do with what I'm talking about in the video. Like, I'm watching some of these guys, for instance, GCP, who's a badass at this point. He's actually the most influential content creator for me personally, and I'll tell you why. Because for the longest time, he did this for 10 years at a time. He's done it for 12 now, but he did this for 10 years, and he had been at where I am now, just at 1.7K subscribers, and he had been doing this forever. And then obviously recently he changed up his content. He's talking about completely different shit, and you can tell he's having more fun than ever. You can tell it in his voice. You could tell it in the way he does his content, his editing or whatnot. His content is a hell of a lot of fun to watch. Actually, I went on a binge to where I was watching Dr. Bolo and GCP. Like yesterday, I was just playing Halo Infinite multiplayer without my headset on, and I was just listening to their commentaries and looking back and forth and watching their videos, and I was just laughing my ass off because these guys do a great job. Deserve is another one that does similar type of content. He recently made 3,000 subs. Congratulations to him. And obviously you've got guys, and then you've got Dr. Bolo, and of course you got Difo, who just blew up ever since he stopped covering Call of Duty. Now, the purpose of the change is not necessarily for growth, even though I will say that if I were to start a new channel, if I were to do something completely different and I stuck with it, and granted, of course, I enjoyed it, I actually have little to no doubt that I would actually, like, in about 2 years, I would probably surpass the amount of subs that I have right now, and even consistent viewers as well. And truth be told, I have absolutely no problem admitting that this channel really never got anywhere, simply because of the fact that it was my fault. I let a lot of things just go too far for too long, and it got to the point to where the things that were going on in real life basically got so bad to the point to where I even considered self-deletion. Now, what do I mean by things getting too bad? Well, I'm just going to name a couple of things without taking too much time or going into too much detail. But basically, it was like, obviously, there's real life circumstances, and sometimes things can just get worse no matter what you do, and they can go on for a very long time. But it wasn't just that. It was also about a family member that I take care of 100%, and everything is from me in terms of support. And when that deteriorates and that doesn't seem to be getting any better, that also adds to the mix. Plus, you're working 65 hours a week, and in some cases even more. And then you're only averaging about 3 to 5 hours of sleep a night. So when all of these things, and they really, when they add up and they continuously build up and it's like there's no end to it, you just say to yourself, you're like, fuck it, if this is my life, it's like I kept on thinking, I'm like, wow, once this family member, like, once things at least improve or something like that with the family member, or like let's say something happens, if something were to happen with that family member, you just basically say, if something happens and then they're gone, you're like, what the fuck? I mean, this is basically my life. It's like, so ultimately at the end of the day, I decided to change it. And so I definitely don't recommend working that crazy amount of hours for too long. I obviously, and that's like one of the things that you can change. And if you need help, by all means, get help to change it in any way, shape, or form. And we're not just talking about that kind of help, but we're also talking about like mental support. Talk to the people that you trust and that are close to you, and that'll help you in that aspect. Get professional help if you need to. But ultimately, all of those things, like for instance, the sleeping at 3 to 5 hours a night, all that kind of stuff, the working and all that, and the ups and downs, all that has something to do with it. But the thing is, if you can do something to improve it, by all means, your mental health, I could tell you without a shadow of a doubt, is absolutely one of the most important things, and it's something you cannot neglect, and you cannot let it go for too long. So, and it all started, the funny thing is, it all started around Black Ops 4, like somewhere in the middle of Black Ops 4. That's when it started to get real bad, because I've always had my ups and downs with depression or whatnot, but it got really bad to that point to where it started getting really bad in the middle of 2018 or whatnot, in the beginning of 2019, and then it kind of leveled out, and then it got really bad for like a year and a half straight from like the end of 2019 through the entirety of 2020. And then overall, the last 6 months or so, give or take, have been pretty much a journey of healing overall. And go figure, in one of the things that I used to do in my previous career was I used to be a martial arts instructor. So go figure, after 10 years of having that in my life, it's like the martial arts instructor that used to help people for a living ended up being a person that absolutely needed the most help. So do not, if I could tell you anything, if there's anything you can get out of this video, is do not neglect your mental health, and do not hesitate to seek help for yourself. Especially when it gets to that point, because the thing when it happens, like sometimes when it comes to things like that, you don't really realize it until it's already hit you, but because it all happens subconsciously and you don't pay attention to it till it gets really, really bad. And do not get it really, really bad. And the only thing I could say is, if there's something that you should look out for, is if all of a sudden you don't feel like doing, like if your energy levels are always low, or if you don't feel like doing a damn thing whenever you do get some free time, and if you can't find enthusiasm out of any aspect of your life or whatnot, those are usually the signs to where it's gotten way too bad and you need to change that shit as soon as you possibly can. Trust me, I know. So, and especially if you got that question lurking around in your head, is like, hey, maybe self-deletion might be a good idea. I might be doing the world a favor by not existing anymore. So when all those things start to creep up into your head, please, by all means, seek out help for yourself in any way that you can, and obviously a healthy way. I do not recommend going to drinking or drugs or anything else that you might be unhealthily addicted to. I don't recommend that. If you have a healthy addiction, for instance, or if you did at one point of like doing, like, let's say martial arts or going to a gym or something like that, or anything of that nature, then yes, I think that will actually help you. And again, if you're not sure about that, again, go seek a professional if you need to. Go talk to a professional and get their advice as well, because they are educated in the matter, and learning about something like that is something that could definitely do you some good. So ultimately, at the end of the day, when it comes to change on this channel, I decided to apply the change that I've applied in my personal life to get myself back into the person that I really am, a person that's not so mentally or physically vulnerable, a person that's not so soft to the point to where everything and anything gets to them and stuff like that due to the severity of the depression. Because when that happens, a mosquito will literally seem like an elephant, as my dad liked to put it. He liked to use that analogy, so I figured I'd use that analogy here as well. Rest in peace, Dad. I miss you. But yeah, so ultimately, at the end of the day, applying the philosophy that caused change in my life and to change my surroundings. And again, when you change your surroundings, everything else will start to change. So basically, because if you do what you've always done, you're always going to get what you've always got. So if you need change, and that's some of the ways to do it. For instance, work on your sleep, lessen your work hours. That's two really good ways to start at it. And even though you don't feel like it, do something physical. Go for a walk. Go play some sports. Do something. Even if you don't feel like it, and even if no matter how much your mind and your body will resist you, just do it anyway. And that is going to be the start and the building blocks to having something change for yourself. And then everything, as long as you remain consistent enough, you can do it for long enough, it will actually spire into everything else that you do. And all that kind of energy is going to build in and upon of itself. And then you're going to look back at yourself and you're going to be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this was me. This was never me. This shit was never me. I can't believe I posted this and said this on social media. I can't believe I did this or did that, or I can't believe I used to think of this or think of that. It's like, wow, how did I let it get to this point? So at the end of the day, it's like, well, when I apply that sort of thought process into this YouTube channel, it's like, okay, this channel definitely needs a change, and I need to have more enjoyment and more fun out of the content that I create. And at the same time, I obviously don't want to force any content on my subscribers. Now, obviously, the people that are viewing me on a regular basis, I like to think that you guys absolutely love viewing my content. But at the same time, I do know that there are or were people that absolutely love to watch my shit, and eventually they just stopped. And I remember even seeing a few comments of somebody saying, "Hey, you're being too negative. I can't take it anymore. I'm out. I'm sorry," or something of that nature. I don't remember. And this person used to watch me religiously because they used to leave they used to leave a comment after every single one of my videos. So, and the thing is, I'm thinking about everything. I'm going to be putting this channel into hibernation for now until I figure out what I'm going to do. But I'm thinking everything from rebranding, doing completely different content to where my gameplay is not tied down to the to the content that I'm talking about. If I even use gameplay at all, I'm thinking about even getting a camera or just, focusing more on comedy and lightheartedness and things like that. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, getting on YouTube, whether you're a content creator or a viewer or both, it's all about having fun and enjoying doing what you're doing. And talking and going back to what I was saying about these other gentlemen that I mentioned in this video, you can obviously tell from their commentaries, right? Even though you don't see them, you can tell by the sound of their voice that they're absolutely enjoying doing what they're doing. Now, granted, there's some people that are absolutely good at masking that to where you can't tell, or you're absolutely assuming that they are having a good time. But the thing is, ultimately, at the end of the day, when you can tell that a content creator is enjoying themselves, it just makes it that much more better. And they're obviously enjoying doing what they're doing, and their subscribers are having fun watching them. So ultimately, that's what I want to do. That's the kind of message and positivity that I want to spread. So a change is coming. And again, until I figure out what I want to do, I'm just going to take some time off and then try to figure things out while work continues to continuously build up, because work during the holiday time, work is going to be busier. But trust me, I can assure you it is not in the 65-hour range. No, I'm going into the high 40s, and then occasionally if somebody needs coverage out of emergency or something like that, into the low 50s. But mid 60s, no, not anymore. I'm not doing that I'm not doing that ever again, as long as it's in my power. Unless I'm in financial survival mode, I will not do that again. It is too high of a price to pay, and it is definitely not worth it. So and that's also what I wanted to make aware for you guys. So in case you guys are ever, if you ever get to the point to where you're struggling mentally or whatnot, those are the things to look out for, and just some pieces of advice or whatnot. So, and of course to share myself with you. So but in closing here, as this video has gone way too long, I just want to say that I hope you guys have a wonderful holiday, and please do not neglect the people that you care about and that you love. Do not neglect that and the relationship that you have with them, because ultimately at the end of the day, that is what really matters. So anyway, that's all I got for this one, guys. Hopefully I will see you again sooner rather than later. I might do another update or something like that, or you might see a completely different channel and video the next time I post. So like I said, rebranding, name change, and all that kind of stuff is something that I'm seriously considering. So anyway, let everything be known down in the comments section if you want, and stay safe out there. And I'll catch you guys hopefully sooner rather than later. Stay safe, and I'll talk to you later.